All right, yes, indeed, it is once again time for the Nikka Sports Show, everybody, and we are here with our Monday MLB edition. And guess what? It is the first day of spring training workouts. Full team workouts are happening all across the great state of Arizona and Florida, and baseball is in the air, everybody. Happy Monday. I am joined once again by my lovely co-host, the one, the only, Nikka, everybody.
Woo!
Indeed. Woohoo!
Thank you for the
Ric
sound
Flair
effect.
is in the building.
Thank you. Thank you to our listeners for coming back for this lovely show that we have prepared for you today. And it is first day of group workout together as a team.
Full team, yeah. We know pitchers and catchers were scheduled to report earlier, but now the full roster's in the house. Everyone from Manny Machado to Alex Bregman, recently signed by the Red Sox, are at camp. We even saw the one, the only, the amazing Soto, everybody.
The amazing Soto.
We did.
In his New York Mets orange and blue attire for the first time. That must have been a sight for sore eyes for Mets fans after being unceremoniously trounced from last year's playoffs by the LA Dodgers.
But he does look good in the blue and orange.
He does. Yeah, he needs
really
a little
does.
color. Juan Soto, he looked good in the Nationals. He looked good in the Padres. He looked mean in the Yankees, but he looks more fun in the colors.
It does. I think the bright colors bring out the fun part.
Yeah. We'll see if it brings out the aloof part of Juan Soto. That's also a part of his game. I couldn't help but see somebody making a sarcastic joke. He fielded a routine like pop-up, and it was like, uh-oh, Juan Soto Gold Glove season incoming. And I was like, yeah, they didn't get the memo yet. I also saw pictures of Fernando Tatis and some video of him taking batting practice and hitting his first home run of the spring, much to the delight of a on-looking youngster. And yeah, he has big arms right now. So hopefully no one's testing him. I'm joking. But no, it looks like Fernando's been working out in the weight room this offseason, and that's exciting. And along with the Padres, they also welcomed Jeremiah Estrada's 2 new puppies to camp. I think this is a direct response to the dog love that's been happening in LA, because the Padres have Petco Park, everybody, the home of bring your dog to the game.
They sure do. Every month or so, they have a game where you can bring all your pets.
Yeah, I'm tired of the Dodgers owning this like puppy love segment on MLB. Like we are the dog park. Okay,
Exactly.
So Jeremiah Estrada, tip of the cap to you this Monday for bringing the dog love to the ballpark at spring training, at least.
They were so cute.
They are so cute. The one of him popping up out of the mitt is so adorable. It's
They're
like
2 little
a
fluffy-
rabbit popping out of the hat, right?
It's cute. It's adorable. Those are puppies, so everybody's gonna get their heart all warm and fuzzy.
Warm and fuzzy indeed. You know who else is having a warm and fuzzy heart these days, apparently, is Bobby Miller on the LA Dodgers that we just mentioned. He is apparently taking kindly to his new teammate, Blake Snell, everybody.
Oh, are they like mentor and mentee?
That's the word on the street. They haven't gone that far publicly yet. They haven't become Facebook official, I guess, mentor mentee. But Dave Roberts isn't opposed to the idea, apparently. And as a Padres fan, neither am I. The more Dodgers pitchers that are following the advice of Blake Snell, the more walks they're going to have, the higher pitch counts they're going to have, the less innings they're going to pitch. And yeah, they're going to be like dipping into the bullpen in like the 5th or 6th inning almost every game of the season. And they're going to have no innings left by the time October hits, even with like 2 starting pitching staffs on their roster.
Do you think by combining these two, the average walk will go up?
Well, maybe in LA.
Well, yeah,
I mean, and they could use some walking, if you don't mind me saying so, because it takes forever to drive everywhere.
Oh, sure. Especially from that stadium, up and down the
No
hill.
kidding. You can't even get to the stadium without walking a half an hour, by the way. Just FYI, if you're on ground level, and you want to go to the stadium, it's a half an hour walk all the way to the top of the mountain.
Yes, there is.
All right. Well, I digress. I wanted to give Blake a little bit of a hard time because that's what we do on this podcast. I really was offended a couple of years ago when he.
It real.
What's that?
We're keeping it real.
Well, we keep it real, but I was offended a couple of years ago when he was like, walks are just a part of my game and you should accept it. And it's like, no, I loved last year when Michael King, he kind of replaced Blake Schnell a lot on the headset.
Uh-huh.
And they would talk to him after his starts and he would always be mad at himself if he walked people. And I love that personally because, it's like you're giving guys free bases if you walk them and you might want to walk Aaron Judge in certain situations. Okay, I get it. First base is open. There's a runner on second. Make double play happen. But giving guys free bases, especially like leadoff walks, they almost always come back to kill you. I grew up listening to Steve Stone on WGN Chicago, and he would always say like a leadoff walk will almost inevitably always come back to score or find a way to score. Just that's baseball. I'm not a fan of walks, so
it will be interesting to see what Bobby Miller picks up from Blake. Is it the walks or is it the mental ability to address the game?
I mean, at this point, it'll be interesting to see if the Dodgers can live up to the impossible hype that's being bestowed upon them. And
there's also that.
This ass-kissing spring training festivity, whatever you want to call it, is a moot point. It doesn't have any impact on the actual season. The storylines and the platitudes that we're hearing from most of the teams right now, including the Padres and the Dodgers, is a long cry away from October. I'll put it that way.
You still have to go out there, play those 162 games, make wins, play as a team.
You do. And during those 162 games that you mentioned is something that the rest of us baseball fans have to latch onto called fantasy baseball.
Oh, yeah.
And Yahoo Sports released their top 20 players on the board. And a couple things jumped out at me on this. The first one is like Tatis and Julio Rodriguez are much higher on the fantasy projection list than they are on the MLB top 100 list.
Why is that?
Well, I think it's because of the weight of stolen bases in fantasy. Stolen bases, I think, are weighted a lot more. And what leads me to believe that is even more true is the jump up of one Ellie De La Cruz, everybody, and Corbin Carroll, if I'm being honest. But Ellie De La Cruz jumps up from being 31st on the MLB top 100 list this year to the 4th overall player for Yahoo Fantasy Baseball. So that definitely leads me to believe stolen bases are heavily weighted. It's also probably the reason why Shohei Ohtani is number 1 and Bobby Witt Jr. is number 2. So that is what's happening. Also, dark horse Jose Ramirez was almost a 40-40 guy last year. Almost a 40-40-40 guy, if I remember correctly. 40 doubles, 40 homers, 40 stolen bases.
So it's still time to join some fantasy baseball league. It's not too
there's plenty of time. You can join leagues up until the first game of the season.
Oh, okay.
So that's when the fantasy baseball season starts. So this is the first player rankings that are coming out before the season starts. And it'll be interesting to see. This is the top 20 list, by the way. So in case you're wondering really fast, we'll just go through these names. 20, Paul Skeens. 19, Jarren Duran, another interesting stolen bases matter guy. 18, Tarek Skubal. 17, Freddie Freeman. 16, Bryce Harper. 15, Yordan Alvarez. 14, Francisco Lindor. 13, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. Interestingly listed as a first baseman, third baseman. Still, to this day, if you can play Vlad Jr. at third base, that's a crime in fantasy baseball. He should not be able to get a double position. He's never played third that I remember in my life. We got Julio Rodriguez. 11, we got Fernando Tatis Jr. 10th, we got Juan Soto. Juan Soto only 10th overall in fantasy baseball, and yet he's making the most money by far out of everyone on this list. Corbin Carroll, everybody, is 9th. Kyle Tucker is 8th. Mookie Betts, 7th. Gunnar Henderson, 6th. Jose Ramirez, 5th. Ellie De La Cruz, 4th. Aaron Judge, 3rd. Bobby Witt Jr., 2nd. And Shohei Ohtani coming in at the number 1 overall player on both the MLB Top 100 and fantasy baseball. Again, I don't know if just being a two-way player just makes him inevitably the most valuable player in the fantasy baseball no matter what. I do not think Shohei Ohtani is going to repeat his 50-50 numbers. In fact, I would be shocked if he repeats a 40-40 season, but I wouldn't put it past him either.
It would be tough because he does play two positions. And how do you compete with that for points in fantasy?
Yeah, we'll have to do a segment on fantasy baseball at some point and like how points are scored. I have been away from it for so long. I did fantasy football this year for the first time in a long time and wound up finishing quite well in my league. I wasn't too displeased. I didn't win, unfortunately, but I had fun. And I would love to pick up a fantasy baseball league this year. It sounds like something I would enjoy and we can maybe do together.
Yeah, I thought we might do a video about it.
Sounds good.
Perfect.
Well, Nikka, that's all I got for this intro, but we had some breaking news and baseball drama happening on this first day of full workouts as we teased. And let's get into all of the news. Play the music.
Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention?
This bullet just handed to me.
And I need all of you to stop what you're doing and listen.
All right. Well, a couple quick signings to get through, everybody. Paul DeYoung has signed a 1-year, $1 million deal with the Washington Nationals. And I was happy to see this because Paul DeYoung had 24 home runs last year. Quite a few. And it was kind of surprising to me that he remained unsigned. He's not old or anything. I always like to point out too that Paul DeYoung went to the same high school as I did. I don't know him. I never met him in my life, but it still is fun for me to follow. It's the only professional baseball player I know of from Antioch High School in Illinois who ever made the pros. That's not true because Eric Eckenstaller pitched for the Detroit Tigers. All right, everybody, some Antioch baseball history for you on the Nikka Sports Show today. Let's see. We also had a signing. The Royals signed Cole Reagans, everybody, to a 3-year, $13.25 million contract. This is a big one for the Kansas City Royals. A little creative maneuvering to get out of arbitration with Cole Reagans here, a good young pitcher. Very similar to what the Padres did with Nick Pivetta, as we'll talk about again in a second, but only going to get $1 million this year as a salary. And the rest is going to be backloaded.
Backloaded or deferred?
I think this is just backloaded because it's only 13.25. And the other pitcher also making $1 million this year who signed today with Cleveland is John Means, the free agent pitcher from Baltimore. He's now a Cleveland Guardian. And I want to remind everyone, is not going to pitch until August because of his Tommy John surgery. He's going to make $1 million this year, though. And he has a $7.5 million option for next year. So definitely another backloaded pitching contract as teams get creative as spring training starts to fill out their rosters. And one of those teams was the San Diego Padres. Do you have a question?
No.
Okay.
Go ahead. I was just looking up stuff. Go ahead. No.
One of those teams was the San Diego Padres, and their signing of Nick Pivetta last week, which kind of took the baseball world by storm. It was a 4-year, $55 million contract where he was only going to get paid $1 million this year. And a $3 million signing bonus, and the rest of the money was all coming later in 2026, 2027, and 2028, respectively. We heard from Nick Pivetta finally, who passed his physical and showed up at San Diego Padres spring training this morning, everybody. He was ready to go. Here we go. Nick Pivetta on the mic.
This team was really close last year. How much did organizational success and trajectory factor into where you wanted to go?
Yeah, I think for me, winning's 100% the most important thing. That's all I really care about. It's all I want to do. And, with the way that this team finished last year and what they did last year, it's really important for me to, be able to come here and try to contribute to that and continue to, follow this team in the direction that they're going in.
All right. And Nick Pivetta is excited to be on the Padres, and he wants to win, number one. I loved hearing this from somebody, I want players on this team that want to win, that don't look at the Dodgers as some insurmountable obstacle.
It fits with the team mantra.
It did, he got creative. He was willing to work with AJ, it looks like, and get this done.
The creativity is not only for the Dodgers. Every team can do this.
Yeah,
so why not get creative?
It's a lot of money for a pitcher that's never had a season ERA below 4. I will concede that. But I would also concede that we're not bringing him in to be a number 1, 2, or 3 starter in this scenario right now. He's going to be a number 4. And that is, about as good of a number 4 starting pitcher that you can find in this league these days. So I like the signing for the Padres. I like the creativity, and I like that Nick is coming in here with a desire to win, and it's a whole new year, and let's get after it. All right. And there is another player out there, one of our favorites, who is interested in getting some kind of extension, and that is Kyle Schwarber, everybody. Kyle Schwarber spoke to The Athletic, and he told reporters that he hasn't heard of any extension talks between his camp and the Phillies, but that he would have interest in working something out to stay in Philadelphia. I'm not surprised at all by this, Nikka, because Kyle seems like he fits in with that group with Bryce Harper and Nick Castellanos, and I would be very surprised if he didn't find a way to get it done. I also heard that they might be looking at possibly getting him some work in at first base. And I was like, oh, but Bryce Harper's their first baseman now. So there's a little interesting stuff going on there, I guess. But I don't see Kyle like taking first base from Bryce Harper anytime soon. I think it's more of a hey, we're going to give him an off day. You can go play first today kind of thing.
And then who's going to be the DH at that time?
Well, I'm guessing Kyle will be the full-time DH. And
No, but when he plays first.
Well, yeah, exactly. I don't know.
Okay. I don't hate this idea. And Kyle fits really well with that team.
Yeah, he's a free agent at the end of the year. And, there's speculation at the end that it's going to be hard for the Phillies to replace him with the free agents of next year. Basically, they're saying right now already that the Phillies don't have enough to attract the big free agents. I think they've done a lot of that for what they have on their team now between Bryce Harper and Trey Turner. They don't have a lot of long-term big name free agents that they can bring in, and nor should they. I don't feel like they should, at least. That's me. We saw what happens when you get too many superstars on a team, and it sometimes can go kaput. I don't think the Phillies are there yet. I think they're going to compete, but I think their division's getting tougher. The Nationals are back. The Braves are getting Acuna back. The Mets are going nowhere. Even the Marlins are getting Sandy Alcantara back and have 3 really solid starting pitchers at the top of their rotation. So
the Phillies also have a lot of aging players. So Schwarber is not that old. He's only 32, but there's a lot of older players on that team. So they do need to replenish the ranks.
Yeah, that's the one thing that scares me about the Phillies and Schwarber is are they going to look at him and say you know what? We have too much age on this team and you can go age somewhere else.
Potentially. It could happen.
I kind of feel like that it might happen, and it might be why Kyle got ahead of this to try and get everyone to pull on the heartstrings a little bit and be like, oh, we want you to stay here a long time. So we'll have to wait and see what happens. Well, I had one final little news nugget that I found interesting that came out this morning, and that is from Kansas City, everybody. The Royals have extended their general manager, J.J. Piccolo, to an extension that runs through the 2030 season and a club option for 2031. Things are stabilizing in the Midwest in Kansas City in Royal Land. And along with this, they announced that they have decided to exercise the option already for their manager for next season.
They really like him there.
Well, I think this is something that they're doing to try and bring stability to this organization right now. Bobby Witt Jr. is going to be his 4th season. They don't stay young forever, folks, but I feel like he's going to be entering into his prime. He shows no signs of slowing down. As you heard, he is the 3rd ranked fantasy sports player this year. He's also the 4th ranked MLB top 100 player this year. So big things are expected out of Bobby Witt Jr. And the Royals have done a economical but good job of putting interesting players around him as their face of their franchise. And I'm excited to see what they do. I really am. So congratulations, though, to the Royals organization this morning on these extensions and bringing stability to your organization. I wish more teams were this forward thinking, and realizing that you have to have a GM and a manager that are in lockstep with each other. And we see what happens in San Diego last year when it seems like that finally happened and clicked. So we'll see. Hopefully this works out for the Royals.
You know who is a great example of chaos? The Bears.
The Bears.
The Bears. Good point, Nikka. We saw this on Hard Knocks last year, all throughout the HBO special preseason documentary of the Chicago Bears and the manufacturedness of it and just how bad coaching can really take you to some bad places. All right, that's all the news that's fit to print, but we had one other story this morning, and it's kind of come out of nowhere and created a lot of drama in the baseball world, and we're going to hear a few sound bites right now, and then we're going to talk about it. But let's start this off by Alex Bregman on his introductory press conference and coming to Boston.
It's good to be here. I've been fortunate enough to be in the playoffs the first 8 years of my career, and I plan on continuing to do that here. I'm a winning player. This is a winning organization. Those players are winning players. We have winning coaches here, and I plan on winning here. After talking with some of the guys over the last 2 days, I can see that there's something special here. Franchise players, veteran players, young players, all ready to get after it.
All right. Well, welcome to Boston, Alex Bregman. He's here to win, Nikka. He's a winner everywhere he's been. He thinks Boston is a winning organization, and that was then. and all of a sudden now we have a huge shit show on our hands in Boston, and that's going to lead us to today's Daily Double, everybody. Love that sound effect. Yes, it is the Daily Double, and we're getting up close and personal today. This isn't involving the media. This is player and manager clearly on different pages. Alex Cora and Rafael Devers, the third baseman for the Boston Red Sox. Of course, you might remember Alex Bregman is also a third baseman. Here is Rafael Devers on basically being asked if he would be willing to be DH or move off of third base.
So are you saying if they ask you to DH, you won't do it?
No.
Can you expand on that?
I played third.
So, isn't it their decision though? Isn't it the Red Sox decision, or is it a mutual thing, or?
¿Cómo fue?
Que si.
Well, as you can see, things are a little heated in Boston this morning. I should say in Florida, because I don't think they are in Boston as this is happening.
But who didn't get the memo?
I'm guessing Rafael Devers didn't get the memo because here's his manager, Alex Cora. After the media spoke to Devers, they asked Alex Cora, did you hear what Rafi said, basically? Here's Alex Cora.
He said when he signed the long-term extension that you guys said that he'd be the third baseman long-term. Do you think the relationship is strained right now? He doesn't seem happy that, the team has gone back on their word. It's strange between...
Different people here, right? There's a different leader here. So, Jaime is in St. Louis right now.
Well, holy cow.
Rafael didn't get the memo.
That's a manager throwing a player under the bus right there. If you've never heard it, that's what it sounds like.
Did he run him over too, back and forth?
I mean, I heard like the body was literally under the tires. With all joking aside, this is this situation has sort of taken the baseball world by storm this morning because it was highly unexpected. I think everyone assumed that with Boston looking at Arenado in the offseason, potentially with a trade, it was heavily rumored. And then when things shifted to Bregman, they were in the conversation with the Tigers and Cubs and wound up being the choice. You would think that somebody in Boston's orbit had spoken to Rafael Devers about what the team was looking to do here when you're talking about two Gold Glove third baseman and perennial players at the position. What was the plan here?
I don't think they had a plan. Maybe the switch at the wheel with the management triggered this kind of drama.
Yeah, I want to point out really quick. You hear Alex Cora mention the word Chaim, and Chaim is the now general manager. He's in waiting in St. Louis. He's going to be taking over the job next year. after the 2025 season. He will be the successor to John Mozeliak, who is, the president of baseball operations for the Cardinals. So he will be taking over as team president next year. That's who they're talking about, who originally signed Devers to this long, you said it's a 10-year, $313.5 million contract that only has 1 year used up on it. So there's 9 years and about $282 million remaining on this contract. And that's a lot of money.
That is a long contract with a lot of money.
I'm just wondering what the plan here was. You know, like teams and players, they always say, like, you hear it all. Oh, yeah, we talked in the offseason. Everyone's on up to, like, where was the conversation here? If I'm a Red Sox fan this morning, I'm a little bit upset about this because I think while everyone was excited and happy that we signed Alex Bregman as a Red Sox fan, it wasn't meant to alienate our best player. And now it seems like you've done that. And you wonder if, like, I mean, I got to be honest, like Devers and Cora sound like on opposite ends of the spectrum here. And I guess, you know, yes, people can go into a room and work things out or say they worked things out, but do they really? And I guess I'm wondering if this will even shake the balance of the, like, or will this shake things up so much? Will that the Boston feel they have to trade him, or will they be able to?
I wouldn't be surprised if Devers asks to be traded. If somebody comes in outside the organizations, takes your job or your position, and then you have to go out there and play and pretend like everything is great.
I mean, we could all look at life from that situation in our own jobs and in our own careers and lives. We would hate to see somebody from the outside get brought in, given a promotion over us or some kind of a job over us that we felt like we had earned and deserved. You know, like, with all due respect, I don't think Rafael Devers feels like he did anything to lose his job. We looked at his numbers this morning. He's played pretty consistently in a lot of games over the first 8 seasons or so. I guess 7.5 because one of the seasons was a call-up late season. But nevertheless, he also is quite capable of playing a solid third base from some of the highlight packages that I saw uploaded to Twitter this morning. So it's not strictly about, like, defense here. I feel like there's more going on here. I don't know if the Red Sox just didn't think this through or if they just thought, like, oh, yeah, no, willy-nilly, our star player will do whatever position we tell him to do. It's fine. I think that is definitely not the way to go about it if you're going to be making these changes. I really wanted to also point out we saw something similar happen last year with our own San Diego Padres, believe it or not. And Xander Bogaerts was moved to second base, and he was kind of caught off guard by it when they got to camp. Now, the only difference that I would point out existed here was the fact that the Padres had his replacement already on their roster and were looking for a place for that player to play, and that was Ha-Seong Kim. So it's not an apples to apples situation here. It's a little bit different. Nevertheless, Xander Bogaerts handled that situation with class, and he did play second base, and he was still playing on the field. If there's talking about moving Devers to DH versus playing third, well, I would want to play the field too. You know, if I'm a person that's used to playing the field. It's a little bit wacky, and it reeks of, like, when you bring in new president or a new person to run your team, you never know if you're safe anymore. Whenever there's change at the executive level, like general manager or president of baseball operations, all of a sudden, like, everything that's come from that point before then is almost moot. Because you see it in football a lot more, where you see, like, a new GM come in, and all of a sudden, like, the old coach is gone, like, all the coordinators they're going to bring in their own people to run and that they're comfortable with and that they've known and grown relationships with over time. That's just how this works. And Alex Cora vigorously defending upper management and the executive brass today, instead of maybe taking a more diplomatic tone, really does throw a lot of questions in this. Like, what is the plan here? What exactly were they thinking was going to happen? I'm just a little bit like,
do you think he is in the loop with all the plans?
He's thinking, I got a boss. I got a new boss too, and I don't want to lose he got an extension, right? So,
yes, he did.
And I feel like he's he's going to bat for the organization right now and not the player as much. And I'm kind of surprised by that. If I were Rafael Devers, I would be like going into their office today and being like, I want to trade. Like, I want out of here. You didn't talk to me about this. I'm totally blindsided by this. It's clear you would rather have this guy playing third. We saw Alex Bregman video of him at third base taking infield this morning. Rafael Devers was supposed to be out there with him apparently and was nowhere to be seen. So they got a huge situation on their hands all of a sudden. And well, we got some rumors to discuss about the Red Sox here in a minute. And I wonder if there's some things that are going to wind up happening out of this all of a sudden that maybe wouldn't have happened. With that being said, Nikka, why don't we talk about some rumors?
Are the rumors true?
I love rumors.
You're all vulnerable to vicious rumors.
Well, you know how this town is. People talk and they spread these cruel rumors.
Rumors spread by whom?
And I'm just about to lose my mind. Honey, yeah.
All right. Well, the first rumor is that Nolan Arenado is likely to be with the Cardinals on opening day, according to John Mozeliak, who we just talked about, as he's going to be stepping down after this season as president of baseball operations for the Cardinals. He told the media that Nolan Arenado will be with the Cardinals on opening day. Quote, I think the mindset right now is he's likely going to be a part of our club at this point. I definitely feel like it's a better chance than not. It's kind of one of those situations where the headline sounds more assuring than the actual quote itself, doesn't it, Nikka?
Yes.
Don't mean to call bullshit on this statement, but I don't get a ringing vote of confidence
No,
there.
it doesn't sound like it.
I really feel like the Cardinals were actually hoping that the Red Sox did not sign Alex Bregman, because the Red Sox were the team most rumored to be the place where Arenado would get shipped off to. So now that they're gone, I said that the Cardinals don't feel as comfortable sending him to the Cubs, because the Cubs also kind of need a third baseman. Maybe not. Maybe Matt Shaw's the answer. Like they're really playing like tippy-toed, tap dancing around that a little bit. It kind of feels like Matt Shaw's being made to be like the second choice, I guess. They wanted Bregman, but since he's not here, we got all we need.
He's the unproven choice yet.
Exactly. He's the unproven commodity. I don't know why the Cubs are so bashful with this stuff, because we've seen teams that are successful in this league have to have young players, they have to have veterans, and they have to have everything in between. You know, it's never just one or the other.
Maybe Rafael Devers comes to the Cubs.
Well, you bring up an interesting point, and another rumor that is going around is basically that the Boston Red Sox, who we've been talking about here for the last few minutes, they, quote, have due diligence interest in Dylan Cease. Now, if you haven't been following along, just to recap this for you all really quick, Dylan Cease is on a 1-year contract right now with the Padres that is expiring at the end of the year. And the Padres don't really have the capital right now to give him like a long-term extension. And last year when they were in this situation, they wanted to trade those players and capitalize on what they could get in return for them. I don't know if they're as willing to do that this year, because they do need starting pitching as well if they want to compete with the Dodgers. And it does feel like they want to compete, you know, despite the fact that we've been following this all offseason. The establishment media wants to do everything they can to write off the Padres. The Padres aren't playing along with that.
Shocker right there. Shocker.
Yeah, big breaking news, everybody. They just don't want to see the Padres challenge the Dodgers for some reason, and I don't think the Padres are getting that. So according to MassLive.com's Sean McAdam, reports that the Red Sox have been in touch with the Padres about Cease's availability. The source indicated to McAdam that Boston's interest is more of the due diligence variety and could simply be due to the fact that Cease's trade market might not be fully closed until San Diego actually moves the right-hander somewhere. This idea that they have to trade Cease just will not go away. They do not have to trade Dylan Cease. They do not have to trade Luis Ariz. They do not have to trade Michael King even. They don't have to do any of these things.
Then AJ Preller came out saying that they're pretty set with the starting rotation.
He did, and it seemed pretty genuine at the time. It didn't seem like a bluff, especially when you consider they signed Pivetta. They also signed Kyle Hart, who we talked a lot about on last week's podcast. He was the Korean baseball organization, the KBO's Cy Young Award winner last year, or their equivalent. He was the best pitcher in their league, basically. And he's ready to come back to the majors and show everybody what he's learned over there. And it sounds like a spot that's just ripe for the fifth starter on this Padres team. He's a lefty. I like having Matt Waldron and Randy Vasquez as your sixth and seventh starters, and Kolek and whoever else can be after that. And now you have starting pitching depth as an organization, right?
Absolutely.
All right. That's a good thing. But I just don't see the Padres giving up Dylan Cease unless there is something major league ready coming back, right? And maybe with more years of control.
Okay.
So
I like where you're going with this.
So I'm looking at Boston, and it's like, are they really still interested in Cease right now? And with Devers, with what's happening with Rafael Devers right now, is all of a sudden this opening an opportunity window for a big trade to go down before the season gets started. Nikka, there are two teams that I can think of right now that would love to probably have a third baseman of the caliber of Rafael Devers, a left-handed hitter with power.
Well, I know one of the teams will be the Cubs.
I was going to mention the Cubs. We just mentioned Matt Shaw's name, but as you said, not a proven commodity. Rafael Devers is certainly not that. He is certainly proven, and we've described him on this podcast before as the meanest man in baseball with a bat. I don't think anybody scares him. I don't think Paul Skeens scares him. I don't think Mason Miller scares him. I don't think Edwin Diaz scares. I don't think any of the nastiest closers scare him. Rafael Devers is a man in a boy's game to me.
Oh, yeah. He goes out there and hits the balls, definitely.
I don't know what Boston's thinking here, but obviously they told Bregman that he's going to be playing third base or competing for third base or something. And if there is any chance of Devers getting moved, the Cubs are certainly an option. The Cubs certainly would probably be willing to part with maybe some of the players they weren't willing to give up straight away for Dylan Cease. But if they were able to give up some of those same players for Rafael Devers, basically what I'm saying is the Padres would send Cease to Boston. Boston would send Devers to the Cubs, and the Cubs would send everything else back to the Padres. Or the Boston would send a player back to the Padres, and the Cubs would send some players back to the Padres.
Well, who did the Cubs would send to the Padres exactly?
Well, maybe one of their young outfielders, like Kevin Alcantara.
Still unproven.
But is it better than what the Padres have out there with Hayward and Connor Joe right now?
Okay, I give you that one.
Tristan Casas, is that a better first base option / DH option for the Padres than what they have on their roster right now?
That's a good option, but Padres still will need pitching.
Right, and so they're not getting any pitching back in this deal, and that's one of the problems I have with it is because I like our pitching staff right now, so anything that comes back without starting pitching help, that doesn't do it for me.
Yeah.
If I'm AJ Preller, and I hold the magic piece in all of this, which is Dylan Cease. That's what the Red Sox want. If Devers wants out of Boston, this could all work out somehow, some way. The other team I'm going to mention is the Seattle Mariners. And if you've listened to this podcast, you know we follow the Mariners. You know we love Julio.
Rodriguez.
Our guy, Julio Rodriguez, I just have huge aspirations for him, but I've been saying for a while now, he needs a thumper, a left-handed bat to hold the roster fort down with him. Oh my gosh. What about Rafael Devers going to Seattle, playing third base, replacing Eugenio Suarez, who famously went to the Diamondbacks a couple years ago in that trade for their closer. Oh man, that was a weird trade.
So we know the Mariners have not done a lot of trades.
They did last year, but not, this year they've been relatively quiet in free agency and in the trades. They signed Donovan Solano. That's not a big free agent signing. They have some of the best young pitching in baseball and have just underachieved offensively over the past few years, which led to the firing of Scott Service before last season even ended. They hired the new permanent full-time manager right away. It was Dan Wilson, former catcher for the team during the Griffey Jr. years and the A-Rod years and the Randy Johnson years of the Mariners past. And they also brought back the DH from those era, Edgar Martinez, to be the team's new hitting coach. Again, he was the hitting coach before. So things are changing in Seattle, and yet they still have not added, I think, this complementary piece to Julio Rodriguez. And
they
I could see this.
The Seattle Mariners have really outstanding pitching staff.
Correct. And they're under long-term control, and that could entice AJ Preller, the GM for the Padres, to maybe move Cease. If you are getting back a Logan Gilbert or a George Kirby, which have 3 or 4 years of control left,
what do you think of Brian Wu?
I wouldn't hate that either.
He's young, 25.
Absolutely. So I guess I like a lot of the Mariners pitchers. The only one I really don't want is Luis Castillo because I think he's too expensive, and AJ has no interest in that.
He's in top of his game right now. He's 32. He's be 33. But yes, he will cost too much. If you're trying to cut down on your budget and then trade for another piece as far as pitching goes, I go
and if
Kirby.
Are you able in this scenario to get a pitcher from Seattle and maybe a position player from Boston? And are you able to get 2 players back to fill 2 needs on your team right now?
If you go
for
younger,
Cease, because Boston's getting what they want. They're getting the ace they think that puts their pitching staff in basically like we're the best in the American League, and no one's going to be able to hit the ball against us. Right. And you have Seattle that's like, oh, we finally get the big complimentary left-handed bat that we can put next to Julio Rodriguez. And the Padres get back an arm that can replace the innings that they're going to lose from Cease with more years of control, so they don't have to worry about replacing him again next year. And they can possibly get a first baseman / DH type back somewhere else too in this.
I wouldn't hate getting George Kirby to the Padres for that. If this speculative trade takes place, I guess.
100%. So really fascinating stuff going on in Boston this morning. And we had to take a minute and talk about all of it because man, oh man, I'm intrigued by the possibilities that could come out of this last minute, and nothing may happen.
Sure.
They could all come out tomorrow and be like, you know what? We talked and we worked it all out and everything's fine. But you know what? I don't think everything's ever going to be fine again with this. You cannot trust this organization again.
Right.
Well, we spent a lot of time on this subject, and I think there's some intriguing trade possibilities here. I would really be sad if the Padres traded Dylan Cease, but I would understand it because of the contract control issues. And I would be willing to forgive it if we were able to get a George Kirby or a Logan Gilbert back out of it, knowing that we would have that pitcher for control years, and knowing that I would love to see Ruben be able to work with those pitchers. So things are interesting in Beantown, everybody. Nikka, you have anything to add on this before we move on?
I'm just looking at different pitchers from Mariners. They do have plenty young and up-and-coming pitchers if this happens.
Sure. Yeah, it's a team that I would target. That's for sure. You're going to have the same problem in San Diego with Devers. You don't need him, right? As much as I would love to have a big left-handed power bat like Rafael Devers in the middle of the Padres lineup, I don't think it's necessarily a need. I think it's a want. And I think if you lose Cease, your need to replace his innings is more important.
I think Manny Machado can step into that role and try to be better as far as a hitter for the Padres in the third base, just like the Rafael Devers.
Well, Manny's a future Hall of Famer, most likely. And, he had a slow start last year because he was coming off the elbow surgery. And I think there's a lot of optimism around Padres camp right now that the team is relatively healthy.
Right.
The players that they do have are healthy. Tatis is healthy. Bogarts came into camp apparently 10 pounds lighter this year. So there's some encouraging signs, and we have to wait and see how it all unfolds as the season gets going. Health is always going to be a factor for all the teams. All right. Well, we got some injuries, Nikka, because we were just talking about health, and not everyone is healthy, everybody.
Ready?
Yes, doctor.
Doctor, give me the news.
I must confess, you have an astonishingly good idea there, Doctor.
Damn it, man, I'm a doctor, not a torpedo technician. Dr. Harris. Yes? Do you concur?
Is there anything you can do, doctor?
Somebody give me a doctor. Somebody give me a doctor.
All right. Well, the big one breaking this morning was free agent signing Frankie Montas with the New York Mets. He got a big contract in the offseason of 2 years, $34 million, everybody. That's an annual of $17 million a year. If you divide 17 by 30, that's how much money he makes every time he starts. If he stays healthy. The problem is he's now not healthy, Nikka.
Oh, no.
In fact, he's the opposite of healthy. Montas has been diagnosed this morning with a high-grade right lat strain. He's going to get a platelet-rich plasma injection and be shut down for 6 to 8 weeks right now. That means he's not throwing, he's not getting stretched out, and he will not start to throw and get stretched out till at least like around the time the season starts. 6 weeks from now. It could potentially be 2 weeks after the season starts, 8 weeks from now. Wow. Already looking like bad money spent by the Mets. I just don't know how you come in to spring training and like have this happen. What were you doing, man?
I don't know.
You're a freaking professional baseball player getting paid a lot of money on a new team. This is not the impression I would want to make.
No, absolutely not. I don't understand. You like what you do at home during the off season. You don't take care of your body. You don't work out. You don't keep up.
And you're putting pressure on an organization that already spends a lot of money to what? Spend more to fill in your 2-month injury that you just happen to come in. It's tough, man.
Yeah.
I would hate to be a baseball general manager and spend money on big free agents because of this kind of thing. And you have no control over this.
Exactly.
Horrible. Well, that's Frankie Montas' situation. I want to turn our attentions to a veteran who is having some tough times right now, the 35-year-old Giancarlo Stanton. He's behind in his spring training progress right now, even as a 35-year-old, because of some elbow tendon issues. There's talk that he might have partial tears in both of his elbow tendons right now. And the only thing that's going to help it get better without surgery is rest. And so basically, yeah, he's telling reporters that he's experiencing high levels of pain in both elbows, and he has not even swung a baseball bat in 3 to 4 weeks. And this is just all coming out now. And it's like, I mean, I have questions. Did the Yankees know about this?
I would imagine.
I would hope so, but it hasn't been brought up until now. So it's just a little interesting. And
that is interesting because he played such an integral role in the Yankees last season. Especially in the postseason.
Yeah, exactly. It seems like he always has a penchant for getting hot when the playoffs are near, and he has that veteran, presence. He can turn it on at the right moment. If I'm the Yankees, I'm definitely proceeding with caution here because I already have an aging team, and I already have some holes. I lost Juan Soto.
Yeah, definitely. Well, Giancarlo wasn't playing last season for a very long time either.
He had a big time hamstring injury last year around the All-Star break. He got one of those platelet-rich plasma injections himself. So yeah, he's no stranger to those kinds of injuries, but he is a stranger to upper body injuries. So
and we're talking 2 elbows at the same time. That's rough.
Aaron Boone commented, "I don't know. I'm not going to put any timeline on it. We're just going to be smart about it." So it just sounds like they have no real time frame for his arrival this year now. And it just makes you wonder how much gas is left in that tank, especially if he doesn't want to. It seems like he doesn't want to have surgery. And I feel like that would be the easiest way to fix this if you wanted to play for another 5 years, right?
No, he's 35. Seems like he's very banked up already.
He's 35 and he's got almost 15 years already of service time. So yeah, he might not want to play that much longer.
Maybe he can get some kind of assisting job with the Yankees, some player development somewhere.
Yeah, probably could. All right, I want to turn our attentions to Milwaukee, where it was the prospect, Josh Knoth, Knot, who has become this season's first Tommy John victim, everybody. Yes, it's a prospect, and he's 19 years old. He was selected in the first round of the 2023 draft by the Brewers, number 33 overall, out of high school. He made his pro debut with the club's single-A affiliate last year, so he obviously did some damage during his single-A debut season here, and it's just another in a long line of Tommy Johns. We have a Tommy John epidemic going on in Major League Baseball, and nobody wants to talk about it.
Shh, nobody wants to talk.
That sounds familiar, Nikka. That sounds familiar. It sounds like the American health industry with regards to sugar and diabetes and obesity. I just, hope that there's enough arms to continue baseball for years to come at this point, because I feel like the problem is not getting addressed.
It's not. And the parents think that having a Tommy John's makes their kid better fit for baseball. And it's not the case.
That's mind-boggling to me. Like, what parent even would wish an injury on their child,
Right.
and yet it seems like it's becoming more and more common that they kind of are secretly hoping it happens because they feel like it's like, oh, well, at least that's done and over with.
Right, it's done and over.
What?
Then how many more can you have during your career?
Yeah, no one's come back from more than 2.
Right.
So if you're already 50% over with and you're 13 years old, what the hell good is it?
Exactly.
If you already got one of your bullets gone. Hopefully this gets buttoned up a little bit. I feel bad for this kid. I think he's going to miss the entire season now, and he's 19. You never know just how much that's going to set him back in life, his career. And so hopefully someone gets with him on his mechanics. I believe I will go to my grave believing that most of these arm injuries are preventable with better pitching mechanics. Does that mean they're going to be throwing 100 or 102 miles an hour? Probably not. But, you can bring a little bit more heat when you short arm the ball. But if you want to keep your arm and your shoulder healthy and performing, I would not recommend you cheat your arm angle up.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's some bad news for Milwaukee, but they did get some good news, everybody. And that's because the veteran, Christian Yelich, says he's, quote, ready for opening day following the back surgery that he had last year before the playoffs started. It was a little bit heartbreaking to see the Brewers kind of dominate the Cubs all year. Surprisingly, I would say, to a lot of Major League Baseball fans, especially after losing their manager, Craig Counsell. But there they were in the playoffs without their veteran leader, Christian Yelich, because he had to have emergency back surgery towards the end of the season. I'm glad to hear this for him. He says, quote, I don't see any reason why I wouldn't be ready for opening day unless something crazy happens here. I don't see why I wouldn't be ready. Quote, if anything, I probably did more baseball stuff this offseason than I would in a typical offseason just out of necessity and having to check those boxes. I feel good and wasn't really delayed in any preparation for spring training. So really good news there for the Brewers from their former MVP, and I'm sure they want him playing at a high level with Jackson Chourio for as long as they can. We will wish Christian Yelich a healthy season at the very least, but may the best team win, the Cubs, everybody.
They're singing, go Cubs, go! Go Cubs, go!
Go Cubs, go!
Go Cubs, go. All right, well, that's all the injury news I had on this first big injury update for 2025. It wasn't our first report, but it was the first big one. It felt big. There's some big names on the list with Giancarlo and, of course, Frankie Montas, the big free agent. He was the first one to go down. It ain't easy spending money in Major League Baseball, everybody.
Any injury in our retirement community?
Nothing yet from Angels camp. Okay. Knock on wood.
I shouldn't be calling Angels the retirement community. They're not the oldest team.
It's a little bit humorous though.
It is.
It's just like how they've gone about constructing their team this year. Even with Kikuchi, you say Kikuchi, he's older.
Yeah.
He's not a young spring chicken. So yeah. All right, Nikka. Well, I had one other final note, and that is involving left-handed pitcher from the great state of Arizona, Jordan Montgomery, everybody. If you listen to this podcast, you will remember at the end of last year, once the Diamondbacks had gotten eliminated, their owner got on one of the sports radio programs in Phoenix and basically blamed the entire season on Jordan Montgomery. That's a really low blow to bestow upon a player, by the way. And I think obviously there was some venting and some frustration boiling over here. Jordan Montgomery had a really rough year last year. He did not look like he was in shape, and yet it didn't stop him from inking that big deal that he inked in the offseason. He was always a husky looking guy, even on the Rangers and stuff, but really last year it was kind of seemed like he blew up a little bit. Here's Torey Lovullo talking about on how Jordan Montgomery has come to camp in 2025.
When he walked in the doors yesterday, the day before yesterday, I saw that he looked great. And I know that we try to stay as connected as possible to all of our athletes. And in this case, Jordan was one of them that I feel like is in a pretty good headspace and ready to go out and show us what he's capable of doing. Last year was a very difficult year for him. I know it's all well documented. We don't need to talk about any of it. Other than this is a fresh start. He's walking into spring training, getting to know his teammates, getting grounded, feeling at home. And I know that's very important for athletes.
All right. Well, as you can hear in his voice, he seems like this is the opposite I get from Alex Cora, earlier in the program. This is a manager going to bat for his player here. And I got to give Torey Lovullo credit for this. You could question managing decisions and who's right or wrong for the game, but I always will respect a manager who goes to bat for his players. And I think Torey Lovullo did a good job here of sticking up for Jordan Montgomery and trying to probably ease tensions from the offseason. I'm sure Jordan Montgomery did not take kindly to hearing those comments from the owner about like how he basically hung him out to dry and made him the cause of why the team didn't make the postseason last year.
Is Jordan Montgomery going to be a starting pitcher or he's going to be a long reliever?
Well, I think his role is yet to be determined, and I think he's trying to earn, some of that back. We wonder where there's room for him because if you remember, the Diamondbacks now have Corbin Burns. They have Zach Gallen. They have Merrill Kelly. They have Ryan Nelson. They have Eduardo Rodriguez, the left-handed pitcher that came over from Detroit. So
yeah, he was injured too last year.
They are stacked and loaded with starting pitching themselves in a division that is now full and stocked loaded of starting pitching with the Padres, with the Dodgers. I'm sure some people will still try to throw the Giants in there who signed Justin Verlander. I don't really count them, but who knows? Maybe they'll surprise people this year. The NL West is loaded with pitching, though. I don't think anyone would argue with that. And so here we are. Jordan Montgomery, is he going to factor into this team somehow? We know that, inevitably teams lose a pitcher, right? So I think his role is to be determined right now.
We should watch for Diamondbacks this year because they are really improved from the previous 2 years as far as pitching goes.
Well, Corbin Burns is going to give them a big arm. He's now the ace of their staff, which bumps Zach Gallen down to the number 2. Merrill Kelly becomes your number 3. And, Eduardo Rodriguez is your 4. Ryan Nelson is that's a great staff. And then you have Jordan Montgomery with his World Series ring from the Rangers days. And yeah, it's interesting, right? And then is it a possible trade piece for them this season? Is one of Torey Lovullo's jobs as manager of the Diamondbacks to get the most that he can out of Jordan Montgomery in order to make him appear more valuable to another team next year?
Well, he is playing. This is his final year because he's a free agent next year. So he
sounds ripe for a trade deadline candidate for me. Then if he's looking healthy and the Diamondbacks feel they have more than enough, they have a lot of arms in that bullpen. So
he's in his prime right now, 32.
He's right there.
Yeah.
So all right, well, just interesting comments, and the NL West continues to be ever so dangerous for all the teams involved. We'll hope for the best for our Friar faithful out there. I like their chances still. I would not be shocked if the Padres and the Diamondbacks both make the playoffs along with the Dodgers. I'm not willing to put San Francisco in there yet. I think there's too many other better teams in the NL. But
is it going to be a repeat of last year?
Is it going to be Mets Braves?
No, for the Arizona Padres and the Dodgers making to the playoffs.
Well, the Diamondbacks did not make it last year.
Oh, they got eliminated, yeah.
They did,
all right.
Yes. In fact, the Padres eliminated them in the last weekend of the season.
That's true.
But I do think this year it's a really strong possibility that all 3 of those teams will make it. But there's a long road ahead of us, including for the healthiest of teams to get there. And that's going to determine a lot of this more than anything, is which teams stay the healthiest.
That's true.
So, all right. Well, this was a fun Monday episode. I'm happy start of spring training, full workouts, everybody. If you're out there enjoying the game in the sun and watching the teams practice, I hope you're having a great time. Someday when I no longer have work to do every day, I'm going to go and hang out at spring training every day, I think.
Oh, is that your proclamation?
That's a proclamation. You can take it to the bank, Nikka.
All right.
Cha-ching. Maybe it'll be in Portugal or
Ooh,
Greece.
Sexy.
Spring training with style, everybody.
Love it.
We will be back here again with another MLB episode on Friday to talk about all of this week's festivities, including all the Boston happenings and whether things get calmed down in Beantown or not. And we will be following, of course, the Padres, Dodgers, and all of the West Coast baseball action, the Mariners, and Cubs. We love our Cubs.
And other sports. So we do watch other sports occasionally. We watch the NBA. All-Star.
Oh, man.
And
I hope you didn't waste your time with that.
yeah, no kidding.
All right, everybody. Well, keep it tuned right here to the Nikka Sports Show for all our episodes, and we will talk to you guys again real soon. Please like us and subscribe if you haven't already. Thank you.